نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا إنه من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، عباد الله، فإن أحسن الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة. I bear witness that there is no true deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I bear witness that His Prophet Mohamed sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His final messenger, sent to all humankind to guide them to the correct path, to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that they would worship Him, only Him, as He is the creator of all. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Protect yourself from the wrath and anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by abiding by the obligations that He subhanahu wa ta'ala has made obligatory upon us, and by refraining from what is prohibited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And do not die except in a state of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in a state of Islam to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. O you who believe, have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He should be feared, and say the truth, say the correct speech. If you do so, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will rectify and correct your actions and deeds. And whomever obeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then he has ultimately attained the ultimate success. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, the best of speech is the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the best of guidance is the guidance of His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There are no other guidance but the guidance of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the worst of matters are newly innovated matters in this religion. Because whatever is newly created in this religion will lead you astray, and whatever will lead you astray will lead you to the hellfire. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, it's amazing how time passes quickly. It's almost a week now since the Ramadan had passed. And many of us, since the end of Ramadan, from the first day of Eid, have already felt a change in their hearts, a change in level of their spirituality. And this is something that is normal, because after all, we have left a month that is a blessed month that is filled with acts of worship, filled with us trying to abide by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made obligatory and refraining and staying away from what Allah has prohibited. A month that is blessed where our iman has elevated to the highest of levels. And so it's normal for us to feel this change. It is very normal. However, what is important we have to ask ourselves is how our actions are after Ramadan. What is our state of affairs after Ramadan? Because generally speaking, when we talk about Ramadan and after Ramadan, people who had done their best to attain taqwa in this month, to protect themselves by obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and refraining from what is prohibited, to attain the level of taqwa, whomever strived in this month after Ramadan generally fall into two categories. The first are individuals who after Ramadan go exactly to how they were before. They disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They forget about their obligations. They do not fulfill what is mandatory upon them. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to not make us among this category. Ameen. The second category are individuals who have truly tasted the sweetness of Iman in Ramadan, who has felt a change in their heart and wanted to sustain and maintain that change. And so after Ramadan, they try to hold on to this and try hardly not to go back to how they were before Ramadan. Now those are general two categories. So we have to think to ourselves, which one are we? In this khutbah, I'm going to try to convince you to be of the second category, not the first. Because the first category, individuals will go back to how they were. There are two things that happen with them. The first is that they reciprocated the bounty of Allah in the most inappropriate way. They reciprocated the bounty and blessings of Allah after guiding them. After guiding them and helping them maintain taqwa, they reciprocate it in the wrong way. But also it is illogical. That's the second reason. How is it illogical? After we've spent so much time and effort in building something that is beautiful and constructing it carefully, day in and day out with patience, with our energy, with our time, and then towards the end, we dismantle it and take it apart. That would make no sense to anybody. That's exactly the example of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He had mentioned in the Quran of this woman. وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّتِي نَقَدَتْ غَزْلَهَا مِنْ بَعْدِ قُوَّةٍ أَنْكَاثًا. Do not be like the woman who has worked hard to sew this beautiful garment, and after had become strong and ready and beautiful, rather than using it and utilizing, what did she do? She dismantled it back again. She took it apart, thread by thread. It makes no sense. But however, it's amazing how some of us, after Ramadan, after building this beautiful construct where we protect ourselves, where we become one of the muttaqeen, we so easily dismantle it. Now, how is it that we reciprocate things inappropriately? The norm is when somebody does you a favor, you thank him. When somebody gives you a gift, you thank him. Now when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had enabled us to live through Ramadan and allowed us and gave us the energy and desire to please Him and to work through Ramadan, and He had subhanahu wa ta'ala had provided for us the environment that is conducive to do all these beautiful forms of worship, and perhaps we attain the level of taqwa. How do we reciprocate this? By going back to sinning or by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We have to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and thanking Allah includes by your tongue and by your actions. But it's more important by your actions. Ibn Rajab rahimahullah, one of the scholars of Islam, had commented on the individuals who do such a thing by reciprocating things inappropriately. Rahimahullah, he said, فأما من قابل نعمة التوفيق بصيام شهر رمضان بالرجوع إلى المعاصي بعدها فهو من عمل من بدل نعمة الله كفرا. He said, rahimahullah, but for those who reciprocate the bounty and blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had enabled them to live through Ramadan, to worship Allah through Ramadan, and they reciprocate this by disobeying and sinning completely after Ramadan. And includes, by the way, performing what is prohibited and leaving what is mandatory upon them. Then he is like the one, or these are the actions of those who have changed and switched the bounty of Allah by kufr. Kufr means denial. That you deny that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did something to you. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had blessed you with something. You're denying it rather than thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doing the opposite. And so it's illogical and inappropriate at the same time to go to how we were before. And so rather we should be among the second category, the individuals who all hold on to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who reap the chance that we are at a high level of spirit and move forward. Because dear brothers and sisters in Islam, worship does not only occur in a specific season. Obedience is not only seasonal, but rather it is throughout the entire year. But the question is, how do we do that? How do we maintain this? I'm going to share with you 2 hadith that illuminate the way to do this. One of them gives us a proper understanding of the nature of humans. And the second, perhaps a guide to what we should do. The first is a hadith narrated by Abdullah ibn Amr radiallahu anhu, in Musnad al-Imam Ahmed. He said that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِنَّ لِكُلِّ عَمَلٍ شِرَّةً وَلِكُلِّ شِرَّةٍ فَتْرَةً فَمَنْ كَانَتْ فَتْرَتُهُ إِلَى سُنَّتِي فَقَدْ أَفْلَحَ وَمَنْ كَانَتْ إِلَى غَيْرِ ذَلِكَ فَقَدْ هَلَكَ. The first hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that for every action you perform, any sort of action you perform, there is a shirra, a time of strength and high activity. And to every activity there is a period of weakness. It is very normal. We have our highs and our lows. This normal human being. We're excited at the beginning, but then we get accustomed and perhaps we get lazy. For every action, there is a period of strength. But there's also a period of weakness. So whomever his period of weakness is aligned in accordance to my sunnah, then he has succeeded. And whomever his time of weakness is aligned with otherwise, then he is in a state of loss. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, this hadith tells us the quality of human beings. That it's normal for us to have a high activity energy period and a low period. But in this low period, we have to be careful. There is a minimum, and that's the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. His way, now the sunnah here means his way of the Prophet ﷺ. The prayer of the Prophet ﷺ is not falling into sin by performing what is obligatory upon all of us. And perhaps by also maintaining a minimum level of worship, nawafil. We're not talking about the mandatory. The mandatory must be there. But also a minimum amount of nawafil that are to be performed throughout the entire year. This is where the second hadith that shows us the way comes in. This is the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha. She said, she said that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِنَّ أَحَبَّ الْأَعْمَالِ إِلَى اللَّهِ مَا دُوِّمَ. That the most beloved, وَإِنْ قَلْ مَا دُوِّمَ وَإِنْ قَلْ. That the most beloved acts to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those that are sustained, continuous, even if they are little. So put both ahadith together. It'll tell us that it's normal for us to worship Allah like in the state of Ramadan, to read the Quran extensively, to fast extensively, to give sadaqah extensively, to pray nightly prayers extensively. We have the energy, we have the ability, but afterwards we can fall into a period of weakness. So do not let everything go, but stay away from the prohibitions and perform the obligations and maintain a minimum level of worship. Maintain a small level of worship. This is the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is why there are so many ahadith that have to do with nawafil, things that are extra forms of worship to encourage us. These are virtues that have to do with it. And I'm going to mention quickly only 3 of them that have to do with things we normally do in Ramadan, which are qiyam, siyam, and qira'at al-Quran, reading the Quran, fasting, praying nightly prayers, and reciting the Quran. The first hadith is by Mohamed rahimahullah, and this has to do with qira'at al-Quran. He said, radiallahu anhu, that the Prophet Mohamed sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and this is in Sahih Muslim, he said, اقرأوا القرآن فإنه يأتي يوم القيامة شفيعا لأصحابه. Recite the Quran. And of course we know the other virtues. With every letter we recite is a reward, it's a hasanah. And every hasanah is equal to 10 times, up to 700 times. Read the Quran. For it comes on the day of judgment. The day of judgment, dear brothers and sisters, when we need every good action. And we need to protect ourselves in every way. The Prophet ﷺ tells us the Quran, read it, because on the day of judgment it will come and will intercede on behalf of its friends. Now the interesting word is its friend. A friend does not leave his friend behind. It means that we should do this continuously. So when you're tired, you have energy, read a lot. But you should be careful to maintain a specific minimum level. You decide what it is. Is it half a page? Is it a page? 2 pages? But give yourself a minimum that you would never go beyond or never reduce. And we should treat these minimums as if they are obligatory. I'm not saying they're obligatory, but we should treat them this way. It is safer for us. This is something you should not leave behind. A line or 2 or half a page realistically does not take too much time. We're very good at wasting our time in other things that are not perhaps profitable in any way, neither in this world or the hereafter. So we can save a few minutes here and there to recite the Quran. What about Qiyam? Qiyam, by the way, Qiyam al-Layl. Many of the scholars say it's anything after Maghrib, anything at night. And the majority of scholars say usually after Isha. But anything that is nightly prayer is considered Qiyam. That is the larger umbrella. And there's specific types such as the Tahajjud. Tahajjud is when you sleep, when you wake up, but sometimes that can be difficult. And so Qiyam, any 2 rak'ahs, keep it a minimum if you need. If you have more energy, do more. The Prophet ﷺ had mentioned in Sunan al-Tirmidhi, narrated by Abi Umam al-Bahili rahimahullah, he said that the Prophet ﷺ said, عليكم بقيام الليل فإنه دأب الصالحين من قبلكم وقربة إلى الله ومنهاة عن الإثم وتكفير للسيئات. The Prophet ﷺ said, these are the virtues of Qiyam al-Layl. He's encouraging, he said, do Qiyam al-Layl. And he mentioned 4 reasons why. He said it was the habit of the previous people before you. The pious people, from the people of the book before that. Yes, they were worshippers, the ones who followed the true message of the messengers of their time. They worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at night. It is the habit of the previous predecessors who are pious from before you. That's the first. Now it's important because we should at least try to imitate individuals who are good. Role models. If we can't be like them, then imitate them. Be as close as you can. This is what they did. That's the first. The second, قُرْبَةٌ إِلَى Allah Azza wa Jal. They will draw you nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we know the famous hadith quotes. I quite often remind myself and ourselves in the congregation of this hadith. وَلَيَزَالُ عَبْدِي يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ بِالنَّوَافِلِ حَتَّى أُحِبَّهُ. My servant continues to draw closer to me with extra acts of worship until I love him. And so these are the extra forms. So second, it draws you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third, manhatun anil ithm. It calls you to stop. It prohibits you from going into sin. It tells you stop sinning. Because can you imagine a person who prays nightly prayers, he's conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he's going to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to worship him. Quite often this will make him ashamed of falling into sin. It will call him away from falling into sin. In fact, it will make him hate. It is natural to hate what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala despises, which is sinning. And he beautifies in his heart what pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so it's natural for this individual that these acts of worship would prohibit him from falling into sin. And the last, that it eliminates and cleanses your sins. Because if we're human beings, we can fall into sin. It is normal. But the key is, what do we do afterwards? Do we seek forgiveness and perform acts of worship to help eliminate those sins and cleanse ourselves from them? That is Qiyam al-Layl. Well, what about the Siyam? The Prophet ﷺ had mentioned in a hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu anhu, mentioned Bukhari and Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man sama yawman fi sabilillah, ba'ad Allahu wajhahu min an-nar 70 kharifa." That whomever fasts a day for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is other than Ramadan, just another extra day, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards him by putting a distance between him, between his face and the hellfire, a distance of 70 falls. I mean a distance of 70 years. It's just fasting one day. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, as I mentioned, we should have a minimum. At least once a month fast. If you have energy, then have it 3 days a month. More energy, then also Tuesdays and Thursdays. Sorry, Mondays and Thursdays. Why not? And if you really have energy, then perhaps every other day. But it's okay if you don't. Keep a minimum. It will draw you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will keep a distance between you and the hellfire. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, those are 3 basic acts of worships that we should try to sustain after Ramadan. So we can be among the second category, who are not seasonal worshippers, who try to maintain their level of iman and spirituality throughout the year. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لكم إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, I'm going to summarize quickly what I mentioned in the first khutbah, and I'm going to end, inshallah, with a reminder for myself and to you, inshallah. We're talking about how people are usually after Ramadan. And they fall into 2 categories. The one we should belong to are the ones who after Ramadan thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His bounties and His blessings that He enabled us to worship Him in Ramadan, who gave us the ability to succeed in worshiping Him. We should thank Him by maintaining levels of worship, because that's the best way to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not going back into what we were doing before if it's less, not going back to sinning. We should thank Him by maintaining at least some of the acts we were doing in Ramadan, whether it's fasting or reading the Quran or doing the Qiyam. Because it's very natural for us to have levels of high energy and levels of weakness and low energy. So we need to maintain a minimum level of Quran and Qiyam and fasting. And whenever we feel energized, add to it. And slowly, believe me, you're going to find yourself doing more and more until it becomes a habit. Until you cannot stand being away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not stand worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, I'm going to end this khutbah by reminding you and myself, since we are in the month of Shawwal, to try your best to fast the month of, or 6 days of the month of Shawwal. The Prophet ﷺ has mentioned in the hadith, and he said, من صام رمضان ثم أتبعه بست من شوال فكأنما صام الدهر. Whomever fasts Ramadan, all of Ramadan, and then follows it by fasting 6 days of Shawwal, it is as if he had fasted the entire year. Now, these 6 days do not have to be consecutive 6 days. They can be any days. You can spread them apart. Of course, it's better if you do them quickly, but if you can't, just spread them throughout the entire month. Make sure you fast these 6 days. Twice a week will be sufficient, inshallah. Now there's the other ruling we have to talk about and just touch upon it, because the hadith says fast the entire month of Ramadan. Quite often some of us become sick or travel. Or if you're a female, quite often in the middle of the month you have to stop fasting a certain amount of periods. And so can we fast Shawwal before we make up our fast or not? The scholars have differed upon this. Some say that you can, and it's normal, it's okay. Others say you don't, but if you can be on the safer side and do what is obligatory first upon you, then that is great, do it. It's only a few days. And then do the remaining fasts of Shawwal, which are not obligatory, but it's extremely encouraged. The reward is as if you have fasted the entire year. And as mentioned earlier, the reward and the virtue of fasting Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or fasting extra, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts a distance between you and the hellfire, a distance of 70 years. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us in the best path, to enable us to worship Him and Him alone in the best fitting manner, and to follow the footsteps of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات اللهم ارحمنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين ونسألك الهدى والتقوى والعفاف والغنى اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم علمنا وانفعنا وانفعنا بعلمتنا وزدنا علما اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم نسألك حب الخيرات وترك المنكرات وحب المساكين، وأن تغفر لنا وترحمنا، وأن تهدينا إلى ما تحبه وترضاه. اللهم نسألك حبك وحب من يحبك وحب عمل يقربنا إلى حبك. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين، وقوموا إلى صلاتكم.